learn in 2024 and aim to complete at least 90% of the course in the next 90 days. And if you do that, you get back 90% of what you paid for the course. We believe you can do that. Now all you got to do is commit to your success. Commit with Geeks for Geeks.
Hi everyone. In the previous session, we have created the UI for the application, and in this session, we will be taking a look on the initializing of this recycler view as well as our category recycler view. So, firstly, we will take a look at the response. In the response, we can get to see the page, per page, photos, array, and all other details. So now we will be moving towards initialization part of our recycler view. Now inside our code, in the previous session, we have created the UI for activity underscore main.xml as well as wallpaper activity. Now we will be initialize all these view. So firstly, for recycler view, we will be creating the model class. For creating the model class, we have to navigate to the package name, right click new, and we have to create a Kotlin class / file. So firstly, we will be creating the model class for our wallpaper recycler view. Then hence we are naming it as wallpaper RV model. We will be creating a data class. Inside this data class, we will be creating different variables. So inside response, we can get to see different variables as page, per page, photos array, total result at next page. So we'll be creating these variables. Page is an integer, so we are specifying it as an integer. Then we'll be creating a per page. It is also an integer. After that, we'll be creating photos array, which is an array list. Here we will be specifying the object type later on. And last is our total results, which will be an integer. After that is our next page, which is a string. Now here we have to specify the data type. So for photos array, we will be specifically creating a data type which will contain the photo object, which will contain ID, width, height, and image along with the source. So for that, we will be creating photo object. For that, navigate to package name, right click, new Kotlin class / file. We will be specifying the name as photos. Inside this, we will be changing from class to data class. Here we will be specifying firstly the URL, which is a string. So we can check the photos object. In the photos object, we can get to see URL, then photographer details, the photographer. So we'll be adding the photographer. And lastly, we'll be creating the source object as well. We are only capturing the data which is required for us. So here we'll be, as a source is a different object, so we'll be creating a separate JSON object. We'll be creating a separate class for it. For that, navigate to package name, right click new, Kotlin class. Inside this, we'll be specifying it as source and creating a class. We'll be changing the class type as data class. Inside this source, we'll be creating now different variables such as original, large, 2x, and others. So we'll be specifying the variable name as original and specifying the data type as string. Similarly, we'll be creating other variables as well. Large, 2x, then large. After that, medium. Lastly is our small. Then portrait, landscape, and tiny. So now we have created this source object. Now we will be using this source object here for source, specifying it as source. Now we have created the photos object as well as source object. After that, we will be using that photo object in here for our photos array list. Our object for our wallpaper recycler view has been created. Now we will be moving towards creating the adapter class. But before that, we will be firstly creating the model class for our category recycler view. So for that, we will be creating a new model class. For that, we have to navigate to package, right click new, specify the Kotlin class slash file name, and specify it as category RV model. Here also we have to create a data class. Inside this data class, we will be specifying the firstly the category name and specifying the data type as string. Then we will be creating one more variable as category image and specifying the data type for it as a string. Now we have created the model class for our category recycler view. Now we will be creating the Retrofit API interface in which we will be specifying the our API request. So for that, we will be specifying we will be creating a new interface class, specifying the name as Retrofit API and selecting as an interface. Inside this API, we will be firstly creating the first request, that is our get request. So we'll be specifying the request type as get. Inside this, we'll be specifying the request slug. Then we will be creating the function and specifying the function details as get wallpapers, which will return us the wallpaper, specifying it as a call. Inside that call, we will be calling our wallpaper recycler view model and adding a null check here. Inside this get method, we will be specifying the slug. So inside the postman, we are having the request in which we will be making the API call. So we will be simply copying it and adding it inside our get request. So this is our get method, which will return us the details. Here we will be calling wallpaper RV model. Along with that, we will be adding the headers for this as well by simply adding headers. And inside these headers, we will be passing the headers which we have already added. So we'll be navigating to postman. Inside the headers, we'll be simply copying this authorization and passing our key for it, which we have already generated. After generating this key, we are calling this get wallpapers function. So we'll be navigating to wallpaper RV model. This is also a data class. Now inside this Retrofit API class, we will be creating one more request, which will be for our get wallpaper by category. So we'll be creating a separate function for it. We have to simply copy these headers and a get request, which will be similar. Authorization will also be similar. In case of get request, we will be simply passing search and adding a query parameter, which will be getting through our function. So here we will be calling get wallpaper by category, and inside this we will be passing our query parameters. We will be specifying at the red query, and then we will be specifying the parameter as a category, which will be in the form of a string. Then we will be adding one more parameter as per page, and which will be getting here in the form of an integer. Then we will be adding one more parameter as page, and adding it here as an integer. After that, we will be simply call, and here also we will be simply calling wallpaper RV model, that is our recycler view. Now we are getting the error here, no type of argument expected for class call. So this call is different. This is not a telecom. We have to make it to the retrofit call. This is a retrofit. That's what we were getting the error. Now our error has been resolved. That is get wallpapers. We have created two methods. The first one is a get wallpapers, and another is a get wallpaper by category, which will make the API call for different purposes. Now after making this API calls, we have to create the adapter class for both recycler view. The first one will be the category, and another will be our wallpaper recycler view, which is in the grid layout manager. So first we will be creating adapter for our category. For that, we have to right click our package name, new Kotlin class/file, category RV adapter. That is our category recycler view adapter. Inside this, we will be creating so inside this, firstly we will be passing the parameters for our category list, which will be an array list. Inside this, we will be specifying the type as list and specifying the data type as a category RV model. After that, we will be creating the variable for the context. Then we will be creating the one more variable for our category click interface, which will be creating it here, which will be called when we click on any of the category. Category click interface. And we will be implementing this with the recycler view adapter. So we'll be simply calling recycler view dot adapter. Inside this adapter, we'll be specifying the category RV adapter dot category item view holder. So we will be creating that class as well. After creating this, inside this class, we will be creating our category item view holder. Category item view holder, inside which we will be specifying item view and specifying it as an item view, that is view. After that, we will be extending it with recycler view dot view holder, specifying item view. Now we will be calling this category item view holder. Category item view holder. Now we have to also create this category click interface class. So we'll be creating the interface class, category click interface, and inside this we will be creating a function which will be called when the category is clicked. On category click, and inside this we will be specifying the position, and position will be of data type integer. Now we have to implement this method, so we will be simply clicking on this right valve and implement members. Now after that, we will get to see different methods as on create view holder, get item view count, and on bind view holder. So on create view holder method is called when the view has been created. Get item count returns the size of the array list, and last is the on bind view holder method, which is used to set the data for the each view which is present within our layout. So inside on create view holder, we will be inflating the layout file which we have created for category recycler view item, which is this one. So now inside this category RV adapter, inside on create view holder method, we will be simply calling item view layout inflator dot from parent dot context inflate category RV item, then passing the parent and false. This will, after that, we have to simply call return category item view holder and specifying the item view within it, which will return us the item view which we have which will return the view of this category recycler view item. Now inside the get item count method, we have to simply return the size of our array list. So we'll be simply calling return category list dot size, which will return the size of our array list. Now inside on bind view holder method, we have to set the data for our image view as well as text view, which we have created inside this layout file. So this image view and this text view. Now inside on bind view holder method, we will be simply calling, firstly we will be getting the category item from our category list with the help of the position. Then we will be calling holder dot category holder. So inside our on create view holder method, we have, so inside our this class, that is category item view holder, we have to initialize the create the variables and initialize it with the id for our text view as well as image view. So we'll be firstly doing that, and then only we can able to use it. So we will be firstly creating the variable for our image view, which will be a image view. So we'll be simply calling item view dot find id iv category. Similarly, we'll be creating the variable for our category text view, changing the type as IDTV category. Now we have initialized the variable for image view as well as category text view. So we'll be simply calling it here holder dot category IV category text view. Then calling dot text to set the text. We will be getting the text from our category item dot category name. Similarly, we will be setting the data for our image view. For that, we have to simply call the Picasso library, which will load the image from the URL by calling picasso.get.load. Inside this, we will be getting the image from category item. Then we will be simply calling dot placeholder image. Inside this, we will be specifying the placeholder image as our app icon, which we have added. So placeholder icon will be called when the image is not able to load due to some issues. Then we will be calling the place where we have to load this image. So we have to load this image inside our category image view that we are passing it here. Now after that, we have to add on click listener for our category item. So for that, we have to simply call category holder dot item view dot set on click listener. Inside this on click listener, we have to simply call category click interface, then call on category item click method, and inside that we have to pass the position for the item which has to be clicked. Now we have completed the code for our category recycler view adapter. Similarly, we will be adding the code for our wallpaper recycler view adapter. For that, we have to create one more Kotlin class file which will contain the code for the wallpaper recycler view adapter. Now again, go to our package name, right click new, wallpaper RV adapter. Inside this as well, we will be firstly adding the array list, which will provide us the data, specifying the list. Inside this, specifying the data type as a string, as we will be only getting the wallpaper. Then we will be passing the context. After that, we will be extending this as well with the recycler view dot adapter. Inside this, we will be specifying the view holder. So we will be firstly creating the view holder class by calling wallpaper item view holder. Inside this, we will be specifying the item view as our view, then specifying recycler view dot view holder. Inside this as well, we will be specifying the item view. Now we will be passing this wallpaper item view holder here. Now we have to implement these methods. So here also we will get to see same methods, that is on create view holder, on bind view holder, and get item count. So inside the get item count, we will be firstly returning the size of our array list by simply calling wallpaper list dot size to return the size of our array list. Inside on create view holder, we will be inflating the layout file for our wallpaper recycler view item, which is this one. So we will be simply calling val item view equal to layout inflator dot from parent dot context, then simply calling dot inflate inside this, specifying the layout file as wallpaper rv item, then specifying the parent and reverse as false, lastly calling the return wallpaper item view holder, and inside this specifying the item view which we have to return. Now inside this wallpaper item view holder, we have to initialize the variables for our image view as well as card view. So we'll be simply creating a variable for our wallpaper image view by calling simply image view item view dot find view by id view wallpaper. Similarly for our card view, wallpaper cv card view, inside this id cv, so we'll check with this item. Here we have to add the id cv wallpaper, and we'll be using it id here. So now we have initialized the variables for our image view as well as card view. Now we have to set the data to it. So inside the on byte view holder method, we will be simply calling, firstly getting the wallpaper item, from our wallpaper list with the help of a position. After that, we will be simply setting the image from our wallpaper item inside our image view by calling Picasso library load. Inside this, we will be loading wallpaper item dot, which will be in the form of a string, into our folder dot wallpaper image view. After that, we will be adding on click listener for our wallpaper card view by simply calling wallpaper cv set on click listener. Inside the on click listener, we will be calling the intent equal to intent, then specifying the context as holder dot item view dot context, and after that we have to set the wallpaper activity where user will be able to set the wallpaper to the home screen, specifying class.java. Then we have to simply call intent.put extra. Here we will be specifying the URL which we have to pass to our next activity. Then wallpaper item, which will pass the image URL. Then we have to simply call intent.set flags to set the flag as intent.flag activity new task. Flag activity new task. After that, we have to simply call context.start activity to start our activity intent. So this will start our new activity and pass the image URL when the user clicks on any of the wallpaper. Now we have created the wallpaper RV adapter for the wallpaper recycler view as well. After that, we have to set this category adapter as well as wallpaper adapter to our recycler view and send the data from our API call inside our recycler view. So for that, we have to navigate to our main activity. Now firstly, inside this main activity, we will be creating the variable for our recycler view, progress bar, and all other UI components. So we will be creating the variable for our wallpaper recycler view, which is in the form of a recycler view. Similarly, creating the variable for our category recycler view, which will be recycler view again. Then creating the variable for our adapter, that is category RB adapter. Similarly, for our wallpaper recycler view adapter, then we will be creating the variable for our progress bar, which is a progress bar. After that, we will be creating the variable for our search edit text, which is an edit text. Then we will be creating the variable for our search image view, After that, we will be creating the variable for our wallpaper list, which is a array list of type string. Lastly, we'll be creating the variable for our category list, in which data type will be in the form of a category RV model. After that, we'll be creating the variable for our Retrofit API class, which we have created, inside which we will be making the API calls. Now we have to initialize all the variables which we have created. So one by one, we will be initializing all the variables. Firstly, wallpaper recycler view, ID RV wallpapers. Similarly, for our category recycler view as well, category recycler view, ID RV categories. Then we have to initialize our loading progress bar. Firstly, we'll be initializing the UI components only, loading, then our search edit text, search, then our search image view, so we have to add the ID for our search image view. We'll be navigating towards our activity, and inside this image view we have to add the ID IV search. We'll be using that ID here. After adding this ID, we have to initialize our array list, that is our wallpaper list, equal to new array list. So wallpaper array list data type will be in the form of a string, and category array list data type will be in the form of a category RV model. So we have initialized the here search image view. We have specified it as a image view, and we are using it here also as a image view. Now we have initialized our all variables, only the adapter and the retrofit API are remaining. So we have to initialize that as well. So after that, we will be initializing the adapter class as well. We will be initializing that inside our method. Now firstly, we will be initializing our retrofit. Apart from that, we have to also add one more thing, that is a window dot status bar color from our get color to change the status bar color by calling simply black shade 1 to change the status bar color. Now after initializing all our array list, we have to simply call our retrofit, then calling the retrofit dot builder. Inside this builder, we will be specifying firstly the base URL, which will be our base URL for the API call. So this will be our base URL. Up to this is our base URL. We will be adding it here. After adding our base URL, we will be add conversion factory, which will be our JSON converter factory dot create. After that, we will be calling simply dot build to build our retrofit. Then after, we will be initializing the retrofit API variable which we have created by calling simply retrofit dot create, and inside this we will be specifying the retrofit API class. Now after that, we will be adding the on-click listener for our search image view by calling simply search image view dot set on-click listener. Inside this on-click listener, we will be checking firstly if the user has entered any search query or not. So for that, we will be simply calling search edit text dot to string dot is empty, is not empty. If it is not empty, in that case we will be simply calling the get wallpaper by category method, which we will be creating here. So we will be creating a separate function, get wallpaper by category, and inside this we will be specifying the retrofit API. Then we will be specifying the category which user wants to search, which will be in the form of a string. So we have to change it to string. Now inside this, if the user entered query is not empty, in that case we will be simply calling get wallpaper by category. Inside this, specifying the retrofit API and the category which will be entered by the user. dot toString. Here instead of retrofit we have to specify retrofit API. So this method will be called only when the search query is present in the search box. In the else condition, this method will not be called, and prevents the application from crashing. Then if we have to also call this method here. In this case, we have to simply pass the retrofit API and we have to pass the category as null. So we will be checking whether category is null or not. In that case, we will be loading the wallpapers. Along with that, we have to we'll be creating one more method which will be used to load the categories. So we'll be simply creating a method get categories, inside which we'll be getting the category, loading the categories. So we'll be calling this method here inside our main method, which will load all the categories. Now firstly moving towards the get category method. Inside the get category method, we'll be loading the categories. So firstly we have to add the data to our category list. We'll be simply calling category list plus then adding the data from inside our category RB model. So inside this, firstly we have to specify category name, then we have to specify the image URL to be loaded in the category. So we can add the different categories. That is our nature, architecture, now we have to add the image URL for each of the categories. So I have already copied the nodes. So first we will check the image URL. So this is for our first category, that is our nature category. So we'll be adding it here. Similarly, we'll be copying the category for our architecture and checking it inside the Chrome browser. So this is for the architecture. Similarly, we'll be copying the other categories as well, and we will be directly adding it inside our code. So I will be firstly adding the comment and then adding each URL one by one. This will be for arts. Then after that will be for our music. After that will be for our abstract. The next one will be for cars, and last URL will be for our flowers. So now we have added the data. So for categories, we are adding the data manually, and when user clicks on the category, any of the category, the data will be loaded from the API. So now we have added the data to our category list. After that, we have to pass this array list to our adapter. So we'll be initializing our category RV adapter here by simply calling category RV adapter. Inside this, we'll be specifying the category list. Then we have to specify the context and the category click interface. After that, we will be simply calling category RV. We will be setting this adapter to our category recycler view. So we'll be calling category recycler view dot firstly setting the layout manager as our linear layout manager. Inside this, we will be specifying the context. After that, we'll be setting the orientation by calling recycler view dot horizontal as the orientation for our recycler view, and then setting it as a false. After that, we'll be simply calling category recycler view, then set the adapter to it as category RV adapter. After that, we'll be simply calling category RV adapter and calling dot notify dataset change to notify the data has been changed. Now we will get to see error here. So we have to simply implement this category click interface method. So for that, we have to go to our activity, and inside that we have to implement this category click interface. Now we have to implement this method, so we will be simply calling implement members and implement that method here. So this method will be called when any user clicks on the category, and when a user clicks on the category, then we have to simply call get wallpaper by category method. So we will be simply calling, firstly getting the category which has been clicked by the user by calling simply category list, then dot get position. After that we will be simply calling category name. After that we will be calling get wallpaper by category method. Inside that we will be specifying the retrofit API and category. Now inside the get wallpaper by category method, inside get wallpaper by category method, we will be loading the wallpapers on the basis of different categories. Inside this method, firstly we will be making a call by specifying the call and specifying the data type as wallpaper RB model and initializing it as a null. Then we will be simply checking if category is not empty. In that case, we will be specifying the call as retrofit API dot get wallpaper by category. If the category is not null, then we will be specifying get wallpaper by category method. Inside this, we will be specifying category, then specifying the per page as 30 and page as 1. If and in the else condition, if category is empty, we will be simply initializing the call with another method by calling retrofit and then get wallpapers method, which will return us the wallpapers. Now after that we have to initialize our wallpaper array list, so we'll be calling simply wallpaper list and initialize it with the array list. Inside this data type we'll be specifying it as a string. Then we'll be changing the visibility for our loading progress bar visibility as view.visible. After that we will be calling simply making an API call by calling call.enqueue method. Inside this enqueue method we will be specifying object as callback. Inside this callback we will be specifying our wallpaper RB model. After this wallpaper RB model we will be simply specifying the method. So inside this we will be implementing the method. The first one is the on response and the next one is our on failure. Inside the on response method we will get the response. So inside on response method we will be checking firstly if response is successful or not. If response dot is successful, in that case we will be getting the data from our response dot body. After that we will be changing the visibility for our loading progress bar by calling simply visibility is equal to view dot gone. After that we will be getting the data for our photo array list, so we will be calling for creating a variable for our photo list. Array list will be in the and having the data type as photos. Then we will be calling simply we will be getting the photos by calling md. We will be calling the data, that is dt, with the variable which we have created. Then we will be adding the null check and then calling the dot photos method to get the photos array inside our array list. After that we will be checking if photo array list is empty or not. So for that we will be simply calling photo list dot is not empty. In that case we will be running a for loop 0 until photo list dot size. Inside this we will be getting the data from our photo object. We will be getting the data from our photo array list using the photo object. So we will be getting from our photo list dot get, we will be getting the ith position item. Then we will be getting the image URL, which will be in the form of a string. Then we will be simply calling photo object dot source. So we'll be getting the source and we will be using the portrait image URL. So we'll be using the portrait image URL. Then we will be adding this data to our wallpaper list by calling simply wallpaper list plus our image URL. So we will be only adding the image URL. After that, we will be adding the else condition if the photo list is empty. In that case, we will be simply displaying a toast message as failed to or no wallpaper found. So here we will be specifying the context, this @ main activity. Then we will be specifying the message, no wallpapers found, and simply displaying the toast message by calling simply toast dot length long dot show our toast message. So this will display the toast message when the response is failure, response is empty. Now after adding this data to our array list, we have to pass this list to our adapter class, that is our wallpaper RV adapter. So we'll be simply calling wallpaper RV adapter, then calling wallpaper RV adapter. Inside this we have to specify our wallpaper list. Along with that we have to specify the application context. Then we have to add our wallpaper RV adapter. Now after adding the data to our adapter class, we have to set this adapter to our recycler view. So firstly we'll be setting the layout manager for our recycler view by calling simply grid layout manager. So in this case we will be specifying the layout manager as grid layout manager. Then here also we will be specifying the context as our application context, then specifying the span as count as 2. After that we'll be setting the recycler view adapter as our wallpaper RV adapter, which we have created and initialized. And lastly, we have to simply call wallpaper RV adapter dot notify dataset change to update the data. Now, along with that, here also we will be adding the else condition to check whether the response is not received. So in that case also we will be displaying the toast message as failed to get response. And in the on failure method as well, we will be adding the toast message as failed to get wallpapers. Along with that we will be also displaying the exception which we will get. We have added the code for on failure method as well, and also set the data to our wallpaper recycler view adapter. Now when the user clicks on any of the wallpaper, he will be redirected to the wallpaper activity which we have already created. So inside this wallpaper activity we have to firstly initialize all the variables, that is our image view and our button which we have created inside this activity wallpaper. So we will be initializing these variables, firstly creating the variable for our wallpaper IV, which is an image view. Similarly, creating the variable for our wallpaper set wallpaper button, which is a button. Then we will be initializing these variables, find view by id IV wallpaper. Similarly for our button, id button set wallpaper. Then we have to add the on click listener for our set wallpaper button, set on click listener. Now after along with this we will be creating one more variable which will get us the image URL. For the image we have to load, so we'll be specifying it as a string. Inside this we will be calling image URL, and we'll be getting the data which is passed through the intent. So we'll be simply calling intent dot get string extra. Inside this we'll be specifying image URL and dot to string. Make sure that this image URL key should be similar which we are passing inside our adapter, that is our wallpaper RV adapter. This one should be similar to this one, as we are using the same for passing the data. Now inside, after getting this image URL, we have to load this image inside our image view. So we will be again using picasso.get.load image URL dot into our wallpaper image view. Now after that we will be adding the inside the on click listener for our set wallpaper button. We will be firstly getting the bitmap for this image view by simply calling wallpaper image view dot get drawable. Once we have get the drawable as bitmap drawable dot bitmap to get the bitmap. After getting the bitmap, we will be simply calling wallpaper manager creating the variable for wallpaper manager, then calling wallpaper manager dot get instance. Inside this we will be specifying the base context, and after that we will be calling simply wallpaper manager dot set bitmap, and inside this we will be setting the bitmap which we will be getting from our image view. After that we will be simply displaying a toast message as wallpaper has been set. Wallpaper set, then simply calling toast dot length short dot show. Now we have completed the coding part for our wallpaper activity as well as main activity. Now we can simply run our application to see the output of our application. Now we can get to see our application has been installed. It is loading. Till then we can check a look at the logs as well. So we are getting the exception as unknown host. So we can check inside we can add logs for the response. So inside our main activity, we will firstly add the log message inside the on failure method. Along with that, our categories has also not been loaded, but we can get to see text. So if this is the issue, then we can go to manifest. Here we have to specify uses clear text traffic as true. This will load the images. Sometimes the images are not loaded, so using this, the images might load it. So now we have run it again. We will check the logcat, clear it. It has been launched again. Now inside the logcat, unknown host, no address associated with the api.pixels.com. So we have to firstly check the host inside our main activity. We have added the base URL pixels. We will be verifying the URL through postman response. We are getting the response here but not getting it here. That it is giving us message failure unknown host exception. Along with that, our images or wallpapers are also not loaded. Categories are not loading, so we will check for that as well inside our category. But we are able to see the category name, that is nature, architecture and arts. So inside our category recycler view adapter, we will add the logs. That is all. Here we will add firstly the log as we are getting image URL or not. So we are getting the image URL here, but it is not able to load. And we are getting only 3 image URLs. So we have to check for firstly the category recycler view inside our main activity. In the get categories method, we will check. So inside get category, we are adding the image URLs. Then we are initializing the category RV adapter, passing the category list. Then linear layout manager recycler view, setting adapter and specifying notify dataset change. The API is giving some exception. We will check. So we have to navigate to manifest. We have also tried adding uses clear text traffic. This might load the data, but it is not able to load. Support RTL. We have also added the permissions for internet as well, but still we are not able to load, and we are getting the error for this as unable unknown host exception. Failure message, no address associated with hostname. We will check whether Pixel's internet is working on emulator or not, because the images are not loading properly on the emulator. Because it is displaying error. So internet is not currently being loaded on our emulator. I will restart the emulator once again. I am restarting the emulator once again to see the emulator changes. The emulator has, now we can get to see our wallpapers has been loaded. So this was the issue due to the internet not loading in the emulator. So now we can run our application once again to see the output. Now the application has been loaded on the emulator and all the wallpapers are getting displayed. So as I click on the cars category, I will get to see wallpapers specifically for cars. For abstract, we are getting the emulate wallpapers for abstract. Now we can also search the wallpapers. As for bikes, I will simply click on search. We will get to see wallpaper for bikes. So if I want to set the wallpaper for any of them, I will simply click on wallpaper, then click on set wallpaper, and this wallpaper will be set. So we can get to see this wallpaper has been set. Similarly, we can change the wallpapers and we can filter them based on the categories. So now in this way we have created our application, and inside this we have fetched the data from the Pixel CPI using the Retrofit library within our application and set the data inside our recycler view. So if you are having any doubt, feel free to add the comments. Thanks for joining this session. Thank you.